Yo, what's up? Welcome back. Today, I will be doing another reaction thoughts video. It's from the same creator, Locked on HBCU. This time, it's about HBCUs could win NCAA tournament games with higher seed. Um, so I'm going to let him say his piece, and then I'll give my thoughts in between. So let's see. Let me go back to like right here.
Beat a 4 seed, a 5 seed, a 6 seed. Started with higher seeding, success would not be a rare occurrence. Seeing HBCUs play multiple games would not be a rare occurrence if we just started with higher seeding. I'm not asking for anything. I definitely wouldn't be asking for a handout. I understand that the way that they currently construct the bracket, HBCUs are going to be extremely low. Asking for anything that isn't a bottom two or maybe even three, but 14 is a rare occurrence at that. It's just not.
Okay, so it's not an HBCU thing. It's a conference thing. You just happen to be a conference with a lot of HBCUs. Every conference, I forgot the exact um, like criteria. So every conference has a criteria. It all goes into your strength of schedule. So there's a number scale for strength of schedule, strength of record, and then each conference, depending on those numbers, every conference gets a number. So a lot of it may just, well, I'm not gonna say it may, it is. A lot of it is your out of schedule conference needs to be stronger. This is the same thing I was saying with in the other video I did about the when he did his video on like the perfect MIAC and SWAC schedules. A lot of times why they suffer getting into the playoffs, the schedule isn't strong enough. They're building the schedule to kind of, I guess, to get more exposure instead of scheduling the games to get better competition, get better reps in. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, of course. Obviously, the higher you seed, in theory, depending on where you are, if you're the higher seed, the higher your seed in the first round, the easier the game. In theory and technically on paper, that's how it should be. That's not always the case because there's upsets every year. We had 16 this year. Um, I think we had a. I think we had like 11 or 12. Like there's a lot. There were a lot, double digit seedings. Um, the upsets are getting more and more every year. Oh, whoa! What did I do? Oh my god!
Reasonable. Um, I have an idea. I'll probably say it about halfway through here on what we could do to make them have higher seating, but I'm not asking for anything. I'm just simply saying that if HBCU started not as a 16 seed, not as a 15 seed, it wouldn't be a rare occurrence to see them play multiple games. And I'm not talking about a first four and then a first round. I'm talking about a first and second, possibly even a third round game.
Yeah, that so that I don't like. If you win your conference, there's no reason why you should be scheduled in the first four, right? The first, yeah, the is it the first four or the last four, or the first? You're the first four in. Excuse me, you're the first four in, last four out. Um, and how do they? How do I think they have? I forgot how they seed it, but anyway, I think there's four. Actually, I can just go to let me go to ESPN real quick. I know this. Don't worry. I was making a video. I was trying to make a video, but it didn't work. So that is not going to happen. Let's see. So we go to the college, and we go to. Is there a way to go to the tournament? What the schedule? Did they just take? They just take the brackets off? What is this? Oh, here you go. I can look at my bracket. Okay. I was like, they just got rid of the brackets. Okay, so essentially, they don't have them. Why don't they have them? They just said forget the. They just said forget them last four. I forgot how it's set up. There's supposed to be like I think there's one game in each region. I think that's how it goes. But yeah, anyway, yeah, if you win your conference, you should not. You should automatically. It's called an automatic bid for a reason. You shouldn't be playing in the last four in games. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. You deserve to get a spot if you win your conference tournament. You should also you should be guaranteed a spot if you win the regular season title.
Game if we were just 12 and up, just a 12 seed. Because I thought Howard showed that. I thought Howard played well enough to beat a 4 seed, a 5 seed, a 6 seed. I'm not
Yeah,
saying they didn't play well enough to
they
beat
had
Kansas
a
or any
little
of the
bit.
other 1 seeds. I'll admit that.
Like the
I'm not
score
trying
is
to sit
not
up here and
indicative
campaign for them and say they did
how
something that they
the game
didn't.
went.
However, they did play well enough to where you could see them compete. There's examples that even draw back to this. But here's the thing. I want to get one thing out the way because I think that a lot of the, I'll say blue bloods, a lot of the teams who are typically extremely high when it comes to rankings, their team is typically a top 4 seed or whatever. They kind of look down at the smaller conferences. This isn't just Howard. This isn't just HBCUs. It's really smaller conferences. But there'll be the people who tell you HBCUs, Howard, small conferences, when they lose in the first round to a number 1 seed, they use it as proof that, oh man, see, they ain't ready for the big time. They ain't ready to play with the big boys. That is utterly ridiculous.
I don't think anyone is using that reasoning because no one expects any 16 seed to win any of those games. No one's expecting anybody less than like a 14 seed really to get out the first round most years. So no one's using that excuse like they lost in the first round as a 16 seed, so they deserve to be in that spot. No, that's ridiculous. They're in that spot because they don't schedule out of conference well, and then even then you have to win those games. You can't just schedule them and then play you know a decent game. You got to win those games. Like with the Jackson State women's team, they was beating up on a lot of out of conference teams early in the season. They would have been in the tournament. They probably would have been like a 14 seed if they had won the conference. Like I said, that they need to change it where the regular season and the conference tournament winner gets in. Um, because I think that's so ridiculous. Like I think who did they? I forgot who they lost to, but the team that beat them in the tournament went on to play. I think it was Southern. They went on to play in the tournament, and for some reason they were scheduled in the play-in. Do they have a? Yeah, they were scheduled in the play-in, and then had to go up against the six. And then had to go up against who did they go up against? One of the number 1 seeds, Stanford or somebody, and got demolished. Anyway, but see that's a case of that team had no business being in the tournament anyway because they won and it was the last second. I believe it was the last second shot anyway that got them into the that got on the victory against Jackson. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not a what was it? What was the point I was trying to make? It's not a wait. What did he just say?
That is utterly ridiculous. It does with the big boys. That is utterly as proof that all man. See, they ain't ready for the big time. They ain't
Yeah,
ready to play with the
yeah.
big boys. That is utterly
No
ridiculous.
one's saying that.
That is utterly ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. First off,
Yeah, it
this is a
doesn't make
64 team field.
sense.
I'm not even talking about the first four. Once we get to the past the first four round, this is a
Yeah,
64 team
tournament
bracket.
starts every third.
If you give me
The
the
first
whatever big conferences you want to pick,
every
and you
the
take the
tournament
best
starts
64
on that
teams,
Thursday. It doesn't
the
start with
best
the first
four
four.
against the worst four will likely be a very common occurrence that it happens the same way. Like, let's just be real about this. This isn't a 16 team field. The parity between 1 and 64, 2 and 63, 3 and 62, 4 and 61. You know how large that is? That's why it's an upset when a 15 knocks off a 2, when a 16 knocks off a 1. We call it an upset because nobody sees that coming.
Yeah,
That's why we call these things upsets,
yeah.
if we're just being logical about it. So I don't think that this is proof of anything. This is not a proof of any preconceived notion. However, Howard's performance,
Yeah.
Howard's ability.
You just said it. It's not proof. It's not proof of anything. The only thing it proves is that they need to schedule better out of conference opponents, and they have to win those games. Now, like I said in the other video, I'm not saying you got to schedule the biggest of the best. Like I said, there's Jesus, there's 300 something teams in Division One. That's the beautiful thing about basketball. Basketball lets you play anybody in Division One. So you can play some high rank Ohio Valley Conference teams. Some go down and play some of them so the West Coast Conference teams. Like play if you want to schedule Gonzaga, you got St. Mary's, you got BYU, you got all the other schools out there in the Big West. You got the MAC. I mean, basketball is much different when it comes to mid majors than it does in football. Basically, if you take out there's obviously the amount of mid majors is double than what you get in football. So basically, if you're not a Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC, Pac-12 team, you're a mid major. And basketball is a lot easier to balance out the talent scale. You know what I mean?
To compete, that was proof of my preconceived notion that HBCUs could compete. But where does this idea come from? Why do I even believe this? And it wasn't because of Howard. Like I told you, it's a preconceived notion, something I already believed going in. And Howard's performance, though it was a loss, only confirmed this belief. It's because last season I saw TSU knock off Florida. I saw 3 HBCUs, 3 SWAC teams knock off 3 Pac-12 teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
I seen Grambling knock off Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
It's because I've seen these teams.
And
I know
Vanderbilt
we
is
can
a
beat
pretty
these
good
group of
basketball
5
team.
schools. I know that we can beat some of these lower level SEC or ACC schools. That's why I say this.
Yeah, nobody's saying
because
that.
when I look at their performances in out of conference games, I've seen Jackson State nearly beat a number 3 seeded LSU last year in the tournament. If you want to talk about, oh, it's different when the stakes are high, I hear you. I genuinely hear you. Jackson State nearly knocked off a number 3 seed. Now, they were a great team. They were dominant. I understand that. But mind you, I'm talking about 12 and up. Now, the one way you could do it is probably saying automatic qualifiers have to be within a certain range. Right now, automatic qualifiers can be between 1 and 16. They can be between 1 and have to be in a first 4 matchup. TSU is an automatic qualifier, and they're not even in a 64-man bracket. So maybe if you say all automatic qualifiers have to
you need to be solidified
12 or up,
You shouldn't be playing
there's
for a
32
spot.
automatic qualifiers. And if you really
that
just had the
first
automatic
four,
qualifiers
that
at the top, you
first
really just
last
had that,
four in,
then you
whatever
would
you
be no
call them
lower than
games,
8.
that should be
If
for
the
teams
first, or you had to go through all the automatic
that are like
qualifiers before you got to any
judging
at-large
by
bids,
the
then that
ranking
would mean you
system.
would be
They
8
should
at the
be in that
lowest.
game.
I'm
There
asking for
should be
12. I
no
think that's a bit of a
conference
compromise. That's
championship
right in
in
the
the
middle of 8 and where a lot of our HBCUs land at 16. I think that works. But I think that's something they could do, but they won't do. I understand how it goes. It's a whole system and everything. I respect your system. I respect how you pick the teams and the seedings. I'm just throwing something out there. You can't tell me that Howard couldn't have beat a number 4 seed with the way that they played. But matter of fact, instead of talking about this theory, I proved that case. Let's just go ahead and discuss the actual performance of Howard versus Kansas, where things went wrong, and then also where they looked decent despite losing the game, as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You see it at the bottom of the
I'm
screen.
gonna
Don't
let him
forget
get
about the QR
his
code
ad in.
to our newsletter at the top of the screen. But FanDuel, you look at them, they are the official sports book. March Madness is here. The NCAA tournament,
So
me,
select the
is
sports
here.
bet.
And
There
though
you go.
we don't have any more HBCUs involved, actually,
FanDuel.com/locked
Norfolk
on.
State women's basketball is tomorrow. So after that, if they can pull off an upset, but we might not have any going forward till next year. You can still put some money down. You're still a fan of basketball, but maybe you like the NBA. You can put some money down there. Who's going to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft? Because the Carolina Panthers have traded for the number 1 pick, and now they have their selection of whatever
It
quarterback
really
they
is
want.
silly though. You
Bryce
can
Young.
bet
If
on
they're going to do a
any and
surprise and pick
everything
Anthony Richardson,
nowadays.
maybe CJ Stroud. I would
I
also be
can't do
shocked if they
that.
went with Will Levis.
I don't
There's
do
so many
FanDuel. I do
options, and there's only one place to put the money down on for it, and that's
um
fanduel.com/locked on.
what is that?
If your
What's
first
that?
bet
What's that
doesn't
app I
land, they'll
use?
give you $1,000 back. That's a
I use
first bet, no
DraftKings,
sweat. Just go to fanduel.com/locked on
but I
and
only
make
really do I
every
only do it for
moment
like the
more. And as we continue rolling with
like the
today's
single
episode of
like
Locked
the
On
single game
HBCU,
showdowns
I
and all that.
appreciate you for making us your first listen of
That's
the
all I
day
really play. I
every
put down
day.
the
For your second
smallest
listen,
amount of money.
make sure you're checking out the Locked On College Basketball podcast. They're going to have the college bracket breakdown. I was actually to talk about it a little bit deeper, and you can catch that on my profile when you're listening to 5-minute breakdown. Make sure you're checking them both. I talked about how Howard's loss to Kansas, though it was somebody specific. And this is not to tell you that Howard is neck and neck with Kansas last year. When it's possible and not sugarcoated, or is loaded more with talent to be in your time. Pressure made it to where then secondly, you would think that they wouldn't have as many open shots against a team like,
I think
and that's what happened.
I think this is
Jayhawks.
just he's
That's just
breaking
not a
down the
recipe
game.
for success. Typically do look at that like in the game. Did they ever have? But I think we have to look at the fact that when they had time, when Howard had time, they're returning a bunch of people. Howard is going to be scared. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar, and Juan Dixon has a good amount of time to eat his Built Bars. And Juan, we'll give you the hookup, man. If you just go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15, we'll give you 15% off your offer. I know them checks ain't coming as consistently right now. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me not play with that. Let me not even joke about that man's money. But if you go into Walmart, Juan, you go into Sam's Club, Juan,
That's crazy.
or if you just want to save money because you're a frugal man, I don't know you. Maybe you should go ahead and get you some Built Bars. Let me tell you about them. They're covered in chocolate. You have the Built Puffs that are covered in chocolate, also with marshmallow. So they're delicious. They have delicious flavor. I like blueberry when it comes to the original Built Bar, but then I also like the s'mores when it comes to the Built Puffs. That's just an insider note between you and I. That's what you need to go get. You can get them at Walmart,
So if
get
I'm
them at
correct,
Sam's,
Built
get them at
bars are like
built.com. And if you go to built.com and you can use a little bit of
Built
patience,
bars are
then you can have
basically
a little
workout
extra
bars, right?
money for the
Protein
next
bars.
shipment that you're going to buy when you use the promo
Doesn't it
code
defeat the purpose
LOCKED15 for 15% off
by
your offer.
eating?
And as we're wrapping up
It's a
today's episode of
glorified
Locked on
candy
HBCU,
bar.
let's be very serious about Juan Dixon.
All right, cool. Before I finish the video, I didn't know Juan Dixon. I didn't even know Juan Dixon was at Coppin State until I heard he got fired. Like I did not know that. I hadn't heard Juan Dixon's name in years, man, since that championship in 02. Now, I know he was in the league for a little bit, but then after that, like I really didn't hear his name much after that. But I mean, he's coaching, so that's good for him. Hey, man, he's got. I know he can come back. Well, he was the head coach, so I don't know. I don't know his record wise, but I'm sure he can. I'm sure he'll get another chance somewhere. Hey, man, it's college basketball. There's plenty of jobs. So yeah, the, I agree with most of what he said, other than like the preconceived notion thing. Um, it's not just HBCUs that get that bad end of the stick when it comes to seeding. There are a lot of conference type. There's a lot of conference championship. Whoa, there are a lot of conference champions that get the short end of the stick and get like a 13, 14, 15, heck, even 16 seed ranking every year. It's not just HBCUs because there's only there's what there's only there's three, four HBCU conferences, and but it's just a sheer numbers game. 13 to 16, it's four teams. So out of those four conferences, you still only got that's 16 spots between 13 and 16. Basically, what I'm saying is there's no preconceived notion. Don't I mean the preconceived notion is that you're a mid major, you're a low level mid major, which means they really don't think highly of your schedule, which is why you have to have a much stronger conference schedule coming out. Now I get what he said about the teams they beat this year, the Pac-12 teams and the tech. I think the women's beat Texas Tech and all that, and that's great. But you can't just have the thing about mid majors. Um, unless you have like three or four, even like five consistently good teams in that conference every year, they're always going to rank you guys low. The problem is most years the SWAC and the MEAC and the CIAA and I'm missing somebody else. Uh, no, the SIAC is not Division One. Um, the problem is every year you'll probably get like one, maybe two teams that are uh, that are worthy of a tournament spot, but that's not enough, especially when the basically the middle to the bottom of your conference brings you down. The reason people have respect from Gonzaga, one, Gonzaga's always dominant, but they've also had other teams step up in the recent years. BYU has been good. St. Mary's has always been good. Hell, St. Mary's has always given uh, Gonzaga. If it was basically if it wasn't for St. Mary's, the West Coast Conference would not be as strong as it is. There's been years when all three of those teams got in from that one conference, and they're a mid major. Houston was a one seed this year. They're from the AAC. That's a mid major. Um, so it's not like they're just like, oh, you're an HBCU. Here you go. You get to 16 seed. Oh, well, you got to play in the first four in games. No, man. It all comes down to scheduling. You got to schedule better. There you go. You have to schedule better teams. You have to win those games. You have to win your conference, and you got to win your conference title. Now, like I said, if it was with me, I think a conference title, a conference tournament title, and the regular season title winner should get in. Now, obviously, if you have the same team that wins both, then I think then you have a different discussion because I don't think you can. I don't think it's for like I said, so for some of these mid majors, I don't think it would be fair to have the second place team in the regular season get in if they didn't win the conference. Because like I said, most years mid majors only get one team in anyway. So, but like I said, if you have two different teams and one wins the conference championship, the conference tournament, and one wins the regular season title, then yeah, they should both get in. Um, because at that point, it shows that any one of those two teams could have won the tournament and got that automatic bid anyway. So I think they should change. What they should do is change it, and like I said, give out two automatic bids if there's two different teams that win the regular season and the conference title. Now, if it's one team that wins both, then that one team, then like I said, unless that second team is really good, then yeah, you're not getting in that second team. Um, so yeah, that's all. That's all my thoughts. Um, I didn't think this video was going to be that long, but I guess I had a lot to say. Um, yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, go ahead check out Locked on HBCU. They make some good content. Um, I know it's kind of slow right now for some of you guys. I know some of you guys you guys just really you only really pay attention when it's like football and basketball season, which is that's fine, whatever. And I know a lot of you guys are really into the recruiting side, and we just had spring. We got some more. Are there any more spring games? I think no. I think there's something next week, right? Um, so yeah, and then there's some of you guys that just you love HBCU content, which is cool. So yeah, that's my video. Thank you for watching. Oh, the links will be in the description. I have his channel um, tag, and I'll have the link to the video in the description. Excuse me. All right. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.